Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T. If you like all things true crime, if you like it delivered in a peaceful, tranquil manner, if you like it clear and concise without drama, then I highly recommend you subscribe. And if you like what you hear, please smash the like button. It's a free way you can help. And now, without further ado, let's dig in. A 33-year police veteran and former deputy coroner named Jodi Barth scoured the medical examiner's report for 19-year-old Noah Presgrove. Barth added some intriguing details as to the extent of Noah's injuries, when they occurred, and what may have caused them. Barth described Noah's injuries as 1. Very significant, 2. Of a tremendous crushing type, as well as blunt force type. The word crushing stands out to me. The verb to crush, as you likely know, means to compress or squeeze forcefully so as to break, damage, or distort in shape. Noah's body was definitely broken, and it was definitely distorted when it was found. Barth also made it clear that the injuries all occurred at the same time, as in one incident that left Noah completely broken. It was something with tremendous force. Some people believe Noah's body may have been moved after death to the side of the highway where he was found. If the body was moved, Barth said this happened shortly after death because of the lividity in the body. The lividity was set, and it was set on his backside. Now, in case you don't know, lividity refers to the blood in the body settling to its lowest point after the heart stops beating. Barth also emphasized that there were no post-mortem injuries mentioned in the medical examiner's report. This means that all of Noah's injuries were sustained while he was alive, which is a horrifying thought. Barth did say, however, that it's possible he wasn't conscious, and once you know the extent of this young man's injuries, you'll be hoping and praying, like I am, that he wasn't conscious. The left side of Noah's head sustained most of the damage. On the top left side of his head was a 4-inch by 2-inch gaping wound that went all the way down to the bone. Everything was ripped away. Hair, skin, everything, all the way down to the skull. Take a ruler and plot that out. That's a huge wound. Because there are a lot of blood vessels in the head, there would have been a lot of blood wherever Noah was hurt. But surprisingly, when Noah's body was found on the side of the rural 2-lane highway, there was barely any blood. So where did the blood go? To me, this points to the body sustaining these injuries somewhere other than on the highway, and the body possibly being hosed down or showered or cleaned before being taken to the highway for dumping. We also know that much of the writing that the young girls at the party did to Noah on his back and backside was gone when he was discovered. I'm assuming those drawings were also scrubbed away. In addition, the party house was said to reek of bleach later that Monday, hinting that some major scrubbing went down there after Noah's death. I've never felt that Noah was injured inside the house, so now I'm wondering if Noah, after sustaining these horrific injuries, was taken inside and showered. Some of the partygoers have said that Noah was taken inside and showered by 2 of the young women and then given some food to eat, but they said this was after a minor wreck where nobody was injured, everybody was fine, they were walking. It was just that Noah had a lot of dirt and grass on him. You know how some people, when they lie, include some of the truth? I'm thinking this shower really did happen, but I don't think that he was standing or conscious at all, or possibly even alive when that shower took place. It wouldn't have been easy to move him into the house with the injuries he had, but there were quite a few kids there, and I believe there was one adult there as well. This is just me speculating. So far, no one who was at the party has been charged with any crime, but we know some partygoers' phones were scrubbed clean of their social media after Noah's death, which possibly points to a cover-up. As I said, the left side of Noah's skull sustained most of the damage. His skull was actually split in two in the back. His neck was fractured in several places, and his back too was also broken in several places. Some people believe one or more partygoers used their fists on Noah, but to me, I don't think that's the case anymore. The crushing nature of the injuries does seem more in line with something heavy rolling over the top half of Noah's body, his head, his neck, his chest, his back. Jodi Barth doesn't believe it's likely that Noah was the victim of a hit and run along the highway. She points to him being found wearing shoes. The medical examiner's report said he did have two mismatched shoes on. If a truck hit Noah, there would typically be marks on his body, and again, there would likely be car parts along the highway from the collision. So no matter how hard Noah's best friend, Jack Newton, insists it had to be a hit and run, so far the experts I've heard discussing Noah's injuries, including Jodi Barth and retired crime scene investigator Sheryl McCollum, both of them say this was no hit and run. By the way, the massive wound on Noah's head was said to be shaped like a fish, so a 4-inch long by 2-inch wide wound shaped like a fish chunked out of his head. Is that a word? Chunked? And whatever split Noah's skull also led to broken and missing teeth, including a molar that appears to have been popped out due to pressure. Barth said that if Noah wasn't run over, then this was an incredibly brutal assault. So she seemed open to the idea that Noah may have been accidentally run over by the side-by-side, but she also could not rule out a brutal attack. She also talked about the many abrasions and scratches on Noah's body. Many were the size of a pea, and most of them were on his back and his derriere. This may mean that Noah's body was dragged at some point. So did Noah fall off the front of the side-by-side and get run over because the driver couldn't stop in time? And did his body get crushed and then dragged? Or did the side-by-side topple over and somehow land on Noah's left side? The medical examiner noted some black unidentified material on Noah's back. Could that be from a tire? And if there were actual tire marks imprinted on his body, were those also washed off along with the blood and the writing in an attempt to cover up what happened? No one is going to want to be possibly charged with a felony in connection with Noah's death, even if it was an accident, possibly manslaughter due to intoxication. But there's a problem with that because I do not believe that the police checked the blood of all the partygoers who were there when Noah disappeared to see what their blood alcohol content was. Kids' parents wouldn't want this either, as their kids are about to embark on their careers and their adult lives. It's been said that birthday girl Avery Howard and her sister Carter Combs were seen fighting on the patio, and one of them was crying. Let's say this was an accident caused by a combination of alcohol and the false sense of invincibility that we often have when we're young. Anyone who was involved or at the party when this happened is going to be traumatized for life, at least to some degree, unless they're cold-hearted psychopaths, which I don't believe they are. That's not to say that we should feel sorry for them or let them off the hook if they are lying. Noah's family, in my mind, have to be told the truth. They can't move on from this trauma without that. I think that if this was an accident, It might make Noah's death just a tiny bit easier to process for them. Like if Noah was car surfing or riding on the front bars of the side-by-side, maybe it would be easier to take, as opposed to the thought of one or more people using their fists, weapons, golf clubs on him. By the way, Noah was found to have a blood alcohol content level of 0.14, which is 2 times the legal limit according to the medical examiner's report. So did his altered state contribute to whatever happened? I can't help but think of Riley's strain. Riley's blood alcohol level was 0.228, and he also had traces of Delta 9 in his system. Note that a blood alcohol content of 0.20 to 0.24 is considered very high and can cause disorientation, nausea, and confusion. According to what I read, a blood alcohol level of 0.20 is also known as being blackout drunk. So Noah was definitely intoxicated at the time of his death. I'm not saying this to victim shame him, but the alcohol likely played a role in whatever happened, whether it was a rollover accident or other people using their fists or golf clubs. In his altered state, he would not have been able to react quickly, and he wouldn't have been able to effectively defend himself. So I'm thinking we can rule out the hit and run, but it could have been another type of accident, a rollover with the side-by-side, and also foul play is still on the table. I'm leaning toward an accident because even if Noah fought with Jack and Avery and the other guy, I doubt the fights would have escalated to the point of Noah being subjected to injuries like these. I really don't think any of these kids are monsters or capable of inflicting such horrendous injuries. But then I think of Paul Murdoch when he was piloting the boat and he turned into the crazed Timmy character that his friends refer to him as when he was intoxicated. And he threw the boat into a very fast speed and slammed into the bridge, killing Mallory Beach. Another very sad case. To sum everything up, I think there was an accident with the side-by-side. I think there was one accident, not two. I think that's when Noah sustained all these injuries. I think Noah was covered in blood at that point from his head injury, and I think this is why some of the partygoers decided to wash him. They were afraid of getting in trouble, and they did not want to have their names written on his body. So they took him maybe to the patio, maybe inside the house. They scrubbed off their names. They got the blood off. They scrubbed off any tire marks that may have been on him, missing that one black mark. And then they decided to dump the body on the side of the highway to make it look like a hit and run. But they weren't savvy enough to know that when there's a hit and run, normally the person, if they're walking and standing upright, would have major injuries to their legs. There would be car debris near where the collision took place. The victim would likely have been knocked out of his or her shoes. Part of the reason I'm thinking this is because Kaden Pressy, who was at the party, said that while he was awake at the party, meaning he wasn't sleeping at that point, there was no accident with the side-by-side. Yes, people went out in it, but they came back unscathed. Listen to what he said on the channel Partners in True Crime. And he's talking about Sunday night, the night that Noah was injured.
I'd say around 9 o'clock, the party starts up again, and people start showing up. A bunch of people get there. That night, well, before it got dark, they got back, and we had the idea to go drive around, and on the little Polaris Ranger, the side-by-side that everyone keeps on talking about. And we grabbed some guns and went and shot at some birds, shot up some animals, like raccoons and possums we've seen on the side of the road. And we came back right whenever it was starting to turn dark. And right before we got back, there's a giant culvert right beside the road, and Jack had the bright idea to jump it, and we jumped it, and I mean, it was pretty fun. Nothing happened from that. I know a lot of people were saying that was a side-by-side accident and stuff like that, but I don't think I was awake, and I also didn't witness it. So,
but at that time there was no accident.
Yeah, no, there was no accident. Everything was fine. And we go back to the house and start drinking again. I mean, there was a lot of people there that night too. There's 30, 40. And my cousin Georgia came around 10:30, and I had to stop drinking to keep an eye on her, because I know how boys are whenever they're drunk. They'll try to push yourself upon women, and I wasn't going to let that happen to my cousin. And so I stopped drinking and sobered up really quick and kept an eye on her for a while.
And this is Saturday night, correct? We're still on Saturday night?
Mm-hmm. No, this is Sunday.
This is Sunday. Okay, just want to keep track.
My cousin shows up, and I stopped drinking. I took a picture of her on the porch, and a lot of people have seen. And I took a bunch of videos that you can see from the party. I took those, like me sitting in the corner with my pink knee brace on, videoing, and you can see Noah walk around in his black shorts and shirtless as usual. And if you look at it, I was zooming on a girl. That's my cousin. I was showing my mom at the time that she was okay, because she was worrying about her, and Georgia's mom didn't know that she was there. So, and I fell asleep after that.
About what time was it when you remember about falling asleep on that Sunday night?
It was around 2, like close to 2.
2 in the morning.
Yeah, 2 in the morning.
And before you went to sleep, though, Noah was still awake, walking around?
Oh, yeah, Noah was still awake, walking around.
And who else was there? Was Jack there, too?
Jack, I mean, it was mainly just the people that went to the breakfast the day before, plus Mikey. Mikey came there that day.
But was Jack awake at 2?
Yes, ma'am. And I woke up around 2:43, and my mom called me saying that she had picked up my cousin Georgia, because they were worried about her, and they picked her up about a mile or so down the road, because they noticed her location was moving, and told her to pull over. She was in the car with her friend, and they picked her up and called me, and I went right back to sleep after that.
When you woke up for that phone call, was there anybody in the room, anybody in the house?
Oh, yes, ma'am. They were playing beer pong in the kitchen.
Who?
Well, not the kitchen, the dining room or whatever. I'm pretty sure I seen Noah, Jack, Jasmine, and a couple other people. I don't remember.
So according to Kaden, there was no accident in that earlier side-by-side ride, and also Jack Newton was awake at 2 a.m. And remember, Kaden hadn't been drinking because he was trying to keep an eye on his cousin Georgia. So again, I believe there was one accident with the side-by-side. I believe Noah was injured during it, and I think that he was beyond help at that point. He was taken back to the house, washed off, cleansed of any evidence on his body, and then taken to the highway and dropped there to make it look like a hit and run. This is just my opinion. I'm speculating. None of these kids have been charged with any crime, so I'm not accusing anyone, just sharing my opinion at this point. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Now, if you enjoyed this, please smash that like button, consider a super thanks, and I'll see you next time on Bed Crime Stories.